Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest today is Cara Seekings.
Hi, Gail.
And Cara is here to talk with me about Lilydale. So, she brought catalogs for us.
And they are available if you call the Lilydale office. One can be sent to you.
Oh, in the mail, okay.
Yep.
And they don't charge for that?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow. Lilydale Assembly. Journey to Your Spiritual Wisdom. Now, you said we'd talk from this. What page should I go to?
Well, let's take a look. Let's talk first a little bit about the assembly itself, and that's
Okay.
page 5.
Okay.
The assembly, believe it or not, we are celebrating our 140th season
Wow.
this year.
Wow.
Sometimes I think we're celebrating despite ourselves, but not always. But Lilydale essentially was founded as a spiritualist camp. It embraces the principles of spiritualism, but a spiritualist would not presume to tell you who the divine was for you. We can barely decide that for ourselves. We would instead invite you to have interaction with the divine as you define it, using whatever words you might use, God or great creator or great spirit or whatever. So Lilydale was founded, spiritualism is a philosophy, it's a religion, and it invites people to be free thinkers.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things we say is, what is my truth today, Gail, may not be my truth next month, as we learn and experience new things.
Well, that was back during the Salem witch trials.
Do you know I'm a great granddaughter of Sarah Wiles?
No, I didn't know that, no. But anyways, it's my understanding, according to a book that I read, one of the ones that a man named, his last name, John Robbins. Yeah, John Robbins, about reclaiming our health, and he goes into that period of time in history where people were being burned at the stake, along with their cats if they had them.
Oh, yes.
And he said that basically it was women that were free thinkers that were being accused of being witches.
Absolutely.
You know, in fact, somebody that I know but haven't seen in a long time, that used to go to Lilydale a lot, and I'll tell you who he is after the program.
Okay.
Not mentioning any names, but I remember him after I had done a program where I was the speaker at one of our Vegetarian Society dinners. He told me later that it was obvious that I was a free thinker. At least in my adult life, I was too influenced by other people when I was a little girl.
Well, and you know,
But,
it's funny you would say that, Gail, because I often will meet people in Lilydale and other places who really are spiritualists and don't identify as such. I mean, essentially as spiritualists, we kind of believe 3 things. We believe that God or your divine is all there is. We believe in personal responsibility. If I make a mess, it's not up to you to clean it up. It's up to me to fix it. And we believe that communication is there through all planes of existence. I kid about this when I say to people, my mom has been gone since 1971.
Wow, that's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
She died young then?
She did. She did, in her early 40s. I got to tell you the truth, though, Gail, she's the same bossy cow from spirit as she was on this plane. I mean, I wouldn't expect that to change, okay? But people who love us and care about us don't stop because they experience the physical change called death. I am the same spiritual being. You are the same spiritual being today as you were 100 years ago. and as you will be 100 years from now. That piece of us, we're triune beings, psyche, soma, soul. And I say this all the time, one does not exist without the other. We try, many of us in our youth. We try, we push away soul, and we treat our bodies badly, so soma doesn't get much help either. And then we're young and our minds are like, but we are triune beings, and as that, Lilydale looks at that triune being thing. We're holistic in concept. We don't ask why, for example, spiritual healing works. We care that it works.
Like Reiki.
Yeah, like Reiki, absolutely. Energy work. And I'm very careful when I say this because I am a Reiki instructor and a Reiki master. In Reiki, there is no energy exchange. I am an empty vessel through which energy passes
yes.
to the person
Yes.
receiving Reiki.
Yes.
And I think that's an important concept, because if there's some exchange between us, then it's not therapeutic. Then it's not. We're friends or whatever, and that's great. And but one of the things we learn in Reiki is to distance as the person. I call it getting your ego out of your own way.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stepping away from ego, I really do see myself as a straw.
A straw.
Through which, a conduit through which spirit energy passes.
Right.
From me to either the person I'm bringing a message or the person I'm facilitating healing for. It has nothing to do with Cara seekings. I'm just there to, I always say I'm just there to mold the space, and in some of our cases the mold is fairly sizable, but I don't think that conditions the amount of spirit you pass.
No.
But so anyway, Lilydale, there are things always to do in Lilydale. Let's talk just a little bit about some of the points of interest. We have a great bookstore and a souvenir shop. Okay.
Yes. A library too, right?
Marion Skidmore is dear to my heart. I portray Marion Skidmore in her later years here. She and I share a figure and a philosophy. Marion Skidmore began the library on her lawn with some books out.
Oh, I've seen where people are doing things like that, putting out a library in front of their houses or whatever.
We have a little wooden one in front of our post office too.
A little one where people can borrow books and donate books, and it's just a little thing. There was an article about that in something called Sun Magazine. I don't know if you've ever
I think not, but
seen Sun Magazine, but there was a story about this woman who got her husband to build one, and then she put some books in it, just a few to begin with, and people would come and take one to read and put it back, and people would donate books to put in it, and it's just...
Our little wooden library house in front of our post office sometimes is so packed with books you can't even hardly get the door open. So, and every now and then some responsible, lovely person in Lilydale does do some clean out on it, donates some to the local library, that kind of thing. But there are all kinds of books in that. And then in our real library, in Skidmore Library, the one thing in Skidmore Library, you cannot take materials out of the building.
Oh, you can't?
No.
You have to read them in the library.
Yes, they're both preserved and archived, and many of them are original first editions because Marion Skidmore had this habit of saying to presenters, I'll have a signed copy of your book for our library. And, so there's a huge, I can't think of anything metaphysical you could possibly go to our library and not find something on. It's a great project. Each year we have a Victorian seance to support to help support the library because it's such a great thing. Now, we also have a museum. The Lilydale Museum is open every day during the season from 11 to 4. Ron Nagy is our docent. There are so many things in that museum. For example, we have the peddler's trunk from the original Charles Rosna, the peddler, who the gals in Hydesville heard the raps from. We have his trunk. We have all kinds of photos and historical data. I was researching some Marion Skidmore things, actually, and wanted to verify a quote. Marion Skidmore is famous for saying, no matter what, this is first and foremost a spiritual camp. So there's been a lot of interpretation of what that quote actually was. So I researched it in our museum, found that to be the actual quote.
Okay, was she one of the founders of Lilydale?
Yes. She was there at the beginning. Her husband, T.J. or T.K., I can never, Thomas K. Skidmore, was at one point president of the assembly, and his health declined, and she took over as presidency.
I see.
She was often on the board. She really was very helpful in the founding of Cassadaga, Florida, too, which is... actually, there's really not a place at Cassadaga, Florida. There is, but there's not a post office there.
I see.
It's Lake Helen. But she had a lot to do with George Colby going and beginning that small community for a winter retreat, et cetera. And now, of course, it's its own assembly, and it's a lovely place. I've been privileged to teach there several years. There are places to shop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, places to shop. The Bargain Shop, the Crystal Cove, and of course, that cute little herbal restoration.
Which you run.
Which I run, yes. There are places to eat.
Oh, yummy.
And the Bauhaus is new this year.
Oh, is it?
All I have heard is raves. That the food is fabulous. I haven't been there yet, and they deliver, which is, of course, even nicer. They also have kind of later hours, which is also lovely. Monica's, if you're a garlic soup person, the best garlic soup in the earth is at Monica's.
Oh, yeah.
Also, she makes a fabulous, she and Don Smragliola, who is the co-owner, make this thing called Monica's Delight. It is wonderful. It is wonderful. And I don't even like tiramisu, but I actually took a bite of tiramisu from there and found that to be good.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So they have a knack for making things that don't really taste all that good taste really good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
I used to kid Don, I happen to be a fan of caprese, tomato and spinach and mozzarella salad. And basically, you either like that or you don't like that. And Don's is fabulous. And I do like it, but even people who are kind of, negative about either the tomato or the spinach or whatever, find it to be really, really good. Don does a nice array of salads. You can always get vegetarian things there. And he will, for example, I don't eat wheat, so I don't ever eat the buns or anything like that, and that's not a problem. So he's very accommodating. The Bauhaus also is planning to be really accommodating, and their menu is available online at the Bauhaus.
Oh, it says delivery available here in the catalog, yeah.
Yes, and Lucy's Coffee House.
I assume that coffee is not the only thing you can get there.
No, she does fabulous pastries. I avoid the place because I just have to walk by and I gain 5 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
She does wonderful pastries. She has a huge assortment of teas. She also makes some things like a pizza, not like you might think of an Italian pizza, but a specialty pizza.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing, and it's delicious. Sometimes they have music there as well, and it's a nice coffee shop. As I came out of Lilydale this morning, I saw people sitting on the porch at Lucy's, enjoying their morning whatever. We also have a couple of other services there. One is Just Breathe Massage. So you can get a massage on the grounds. And for those of you who are familiar with Chris Freeberry, she's the person who is the massage therapist.
Okay.
And Sarah Salins is the acupuncturist, which I believe her office is upstairs from Lucy's, because Sarah is the owner of Lucy's.
Oh, Lucy's Coffee House.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
We have a picnic pavilion. We encourage you, if you'd like to bring your own things, to use our picnic pavilion. We have a beach, and believe it or not, we have a lifeguard from 11 to 6 during the season.
Oh, nice.
And the beach is well maintained. You know, we have a lot of fly-in geese, and so
Somebody cleans up their droppings.
yeah, so it does take maintenance to keep that beach nice. We also there's boating. There's a New York State maintained boating dock right across from Lilydale, and it's a nicely maintained dock. A lot of us kayak, so many of us use that launch. We also have a private launch in Lilydale. There's the Ferry Village. If you have not walked the Ferry Village, it is something you want to do in Lilydale. They established, we like to say the ferries established their own community. And there are ferry houses, there are tokens. People often leave tokens for the ferries, et cetera, and it's really very interesting. And most of the structures were made by our Artisans Guild.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're just lovely, just lovely.
And you have a volunteer fire company.
We do. We have, and actually, it's a special volunteer fire company because it is not owned by Lilydale nor by the town of Pomfret. It is owned by the Lilydale Volunteer Fire Company.
Oh, okay.
They are independent. They do receive, fortunately, some funding, but they're not owned by either entity. They are independent, and they work cooperatively. It's wonderful for us because many of our fire department folks are also Casadega Fire Department folks.
Oh, is that right?
So we have a lot of cooperation back and forth
Oh,
between
that's
the
good.
departments.
That's good.
Right. I happen to live on the street where the fire department is on the top
Oh,
of the
is
hill.
that right?
And when there's an emergency, these people respond. They actually had to come and get me once. And
For a medical emergency?
yes, yeah, and they were fabulous. They're great, dedicated volunteers who work their hearts out. And because they are independent, they do fundraising and that kind of thing to help them stay in the black.
Right.
One of the things we always say at Lilydale, though, our buildings, many of them are over 100 years old. My house is over 100 years old. Please, no lit candles in public buildings. Please, no smoking in the public buildings. And of course, most shop owners, we definitely don't want you to smoke in our shops.
Oh, no,
You know, or in the restaurants either. So that's one thing we ask people to remember, that we do try to
minimize the risk of having a fire.
yes, because our houses are so close together and our buildings, you know, I always kid about if the neighbors were to have a child, I'd probably have been there at the beginning because our houses are so close together, you know. But if one caught fire, it would be a disaster.
Well, they say the same thing about the Chautauqua Institution.
Absolutely,
Because a lot
absolutely.
of those houses, most of those houses, well, there's a newer section, but most of those houses are very old and
Yes. Tinderbox
close
dry.
together. So
Yeah. Now, we also suggest, if you're coming to Lilydale, that you dress comfortably and wear good walking shoes. There's a lot of walking there. We do have some transportation these days. We have some bigger golf carts. But again, you know, we do try to reserve those for folks who need the transportation. we realize that, we have some accessibility issues. So we try to do everything we can to convenience people who need the additional help. You'll often hear us at an auditorium service, we'll say, please stand as you're able, or, something like that, so nobody has to feel that getting up out of folding chairs can be more than I can do sometimes. So, it makes it more comfortable.
Well, I see people, I spend a lot of time at the Chautauqua Institution during the summer, and I see, as I'm coming and going from, if I'm there in the evening hours, coming and going from the parking lot, I see people, women, all dressed up, wearing high-heeled shoes, having to walk from the back 40 of their parking lot
To the, yes.
to the gate, and then from there to the amp, and it's like, it would make so much more sense, for them to be wearing cute flats. That by the time they get to the amp, they've got to be out,
Their feet have to be killing them.
Yeah, really. And then, what else? And then things like that, so definitely comfortable shoes.
Absolutely. Now, I want to plug a program that is Friday, I'm on page 9, Friday, June 21st. This is our opening day.
Oh, okay.
This is a change from last year. Normally, and from the years in the past, normally we open on the last Friday of June. But we've expanded 1 week this year to open on the 21st. A couple of years ago, a very diligent environmental committee in Lilydale worked to get a grant to create a butterfly habitat. And it's one of, I want to tell you, 4 across the state maybe. It is a beautiful, beautiful butterfly garden. And on opening day, we have a butterfly release ceremony there. It signifies the life cycle and the transformations that we undergo. And it is just such a moving experience. Some people purchase a butterfly to memorialize someone, some people purchase to honor someone. Some people just participate because they like the whole idea, So that's opening day. And opening day, as well as the butterfly release, we have an outdoor message service at 1 o'clock at Inspiration Stump. At 2:30, there's a service in the auditorium. Now, I always tell people, when it comes to the Stump and Forest Temple, if you hear the bells ring in the auditorium, it means it's too wet or too windy to be using the outdoor venues.
Oh, okay.
So then things are held in the auditorium. The 2:30 service is almost always in the auditorium. 2:30 service is held Monday through Saturday.
6 days a week.
Right. There's a speaker, there's a clairvoyant, there's a chairperson, and they're usually really interesting. Actually, let me plug me. July 3rd, I'm the speaker.
July 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the speaker. Then in the afternoon, there's a 4 o'clock message service at Forest Temple, which is a lovely, lovely place. I always say to people, if you go one way on East Street, you go to Forest Temple. If you go the other way on East Street and keep going past the Pet Cemetery, there is Inspiration Stump.
Okay.
The Pet Cemetery is our friend Joanne Copley-Negro and a lot of other volunteers have put incredible amounts of work into sprucing up the Pet Cemetery, and it is lovely, just lovely. We used to call my friend Lynn Forget's cat Perkins. We used to call her the mayor of Lilydale.
The cat?
The cat.
Okay.
Perk would walk in and out of services, would choose who she wanted to sit near, would maybe let you pet her. Well, I think either last year or the year before Perkins died.
Oh, okay.
So Perkins has a stone in the pet cemetery.
Are there markers for all of the pets? that are
Not all
buried
of them,
there?
but there
Not
are
all
markers
of
for a lot. I have, over the years, sprinkled the cremains of my pets in the cemetery.
Oh, just on the ground?
Yes, yeah. But there are lots of markers. And the horse, Tipsy, Topsy, Topsy, many, many, many years ago when they still iced off Cassadaga Lake, Topsy drowned in the lake icing.
You know, I just heard that somebody else just told me that within the last few days.
Oh, and Topsy is buried in the pet cemetery. And there are a lot of beloved pets there. And like I say, it really is very peaceful and very lovely and gives us... Now, one of the popular rumors, and believe me, this is not true, when you go to Inspiration Stump, there are paving blocks with names on them. There are not ashes under those blocks.
Oh, okay.
People have spread that rumor forever. People bought the blocks, sometimes in memoriam, sometimes to honor someone, but there are no ashes under those.
Okay.
So, I always kind of like to clarify that because we do a lot of message service work there, and I hate to have people have the wrong idea about what then the stump itself is an energy vortex. So
is it really?
Yeah, people will go and maybe sit on the steps of the stump. For many years you couldn't access it because the original stump, of course, has deteriorated to nothing. So we have a concrete base for it and a top. And we used to keep it fenced, but no more. They're safe. You know, I wouldn't want people up there doing the hula, but they're safe. It is a huge energy vortex. Folks often leave little tokens there or flowers or whatever, and we don't discourage that. But that's where the mediums do, or the clairvoyants do, outdoor message services twice a day during season. And those are free, which is a lovely thing to attend, and often we'll get a couple of hundred people at one.
I was going to bring, I just thought of something. Colleen Vandersuyden has been on Fresh Perspectives from time to time, and the one time that she was talking to me about it, it hadn't been on television yet, so she couldn't really talk about it then. But then I forgot to bring it up when she was on. But apparently, last year sometime, somebody from a regular national television program came and did a program on Lily Dale. Do you want to mention anything?
I don't know much about that myself, but it was, I understand it was very well done. And of course, a few years ago, they did the movie No One Dies in Lilydale.
No One Dies in Lilydale.
Right. And I think that those, and we also have, if you go to the library, we have a little movie we show there, are pretty fair representations of what Lilydale really is. Christine Wicker, a number of years ago, wrote a book, and we were kind of amused because when she came, I was uncertain about how her portrayal would be. I kind of felt she had some preconceived notions. She did a great job in that book. Very fair-handed, very loving and caring, but also very practical, and very, many of our houses could use some work. We're like other aging communities, and that kind of thing. But she presented very fairly on Lilydale. You couldn't ask for a nicer book. And as I say, the movies and little blurbs that have been done over the years have been very nice. They've there was a TV show for a while, though, that had Lilydale people, not our people, actors, doing strange things. It was a murder mystery kind of thing, and one medium was killed by a flying planchette. Now,
a what?
A planchette is the triangular thing that sits on a Ouija board. Okay. Now, we don't use Ouija boards in Lilydale. I mean,
no, I've heard nightmarish things about them. They say stay away from Ouija boards.
Well, I particularly, I mean, if you're not energetically in tune to, I say all the time, I have no problem with that stuff because Spirit is very clear. I only accept the highest and best. Don't bring me garbage because I'm not taking it. But that's me, who has a fairly strong personality and feels very comfortable to say that. But it did some other things in that TV series that were alien to Lilydale. We don't tell fortunes.
Supposedly, this was about Lilydale.
It was called Lilydale, even, but it was strictly a work of fiction.
Yeah, I never heard of this program.
I don't think it was long lasting. I think it might have been on Sci-Fi Channel or something, but it was
maybe
completely a work of fiction, and that's fine. I just never like people to have the wrong idea when they come, because then they're disappointed. The catalog talks about what you expect, what you should expect when you sit for healing or reading. And
I remember I remember saying something about to somebody one time, that somebody that I said something to somebody because the person lived in Lilydale, and she didn't live in Lilydale. She lived in the outside of the Cassadaga area, out in the country. And I said, well, you're near Lilydale. I said, I usually don't go there because when they've got everything going on in the summer, I'm usually busy doing other things, but I would if I could. And then she goes, well, I would never go there. That place is wicked and evil. So anybody who might be tuned in to my program today, what do you say to people that believe that Lilydale is wicked and evil?
Funny would bring that up, because a number of years ago, I quilt in a quilt guild, and we were doing a quilt show, and this gal and her mom were in the guild, and she said to me, she said, I can't believe how normal you are. And I thought, hello? I said, what? And she said, well, I grew up across the lake from Lilydale. And she said, and we used to call it Spook Island.
Spook Island?
I said, because we really are an island. But I said, I would say to you that Lilydale, like me, looks for only the highest and best. We believe in things like unity and community. We believe in working toward the greater good, even if sometimes it doesn't meet my agenda. That's part of being in the community. I like to kid and say we quit sacrificing cats 500 years ago. We weren't even there 500 years ago. We don't do fortune telling. We don't do spells. If you came to my shop looking for herbs for a spell, you would be sadly disappointed. We don't do any of those kinds of things. What I think happens is that people are fearful about what they don't know. I said to you, I'm the speaker July 3rd. My topic is, who are those spiritualists anyway? Because we're your neighbors. We're your nurse, your doctor, your pharmacist, your whatever. We really aren't any different, except that we're free thinkers. And the advantage to the public in that is that I'm not going to criticize what you think. Actually, I have a moral mandate, never to like your opinion if I don't, but to always give you the right not only to hold it, but to freely express it. If I don't like it, tough for me. I mean, we're respecter of people, and I always love to say this. You want to talk about diverse? We are diverse. And we invite you to be diverse as well. We invite you to let your knobbies shine and show, because we're all knobby. An old friend of mine, Joe Scheel, often says, we are all broken, some just not so visibly. And we appreciate the fact that nobody gets to be grown-ups in this life without having experienced some pain and some anger and certainly some frustration. So we try to be tolerant of those kinds of things. You and I were talking before the show about how when someone has a difficulty with you, it is most likely their problem.
I think that every preschool child should be taught this so that they don't let themselves be bothered by the attitudes other people have about them.
Absolutely. And just because someone says it about you
Doesn't mean it's true.
and doesn't mean you have to believe it either.
No.
You know, I've done over the years a lot of work with teenage women to, and I often say, don't confuse self-esteem and self-value. Many of us have perfectly fine self-esteem, but our self-value is nil because of those kinds of things, because we've heard repeatedly that you're too slow, you're too hefty, you're too this, you're too that, you're too the other thing. When I hear that, I remind myself in my heart to say, in whose opinion? Is your opinion valid to me? Well, if I like you, it probably is. But is it the end all to be all? No. And we're constantly in a state of flux and transformation. I'm sure you're not the same woman today you were at 20.
No, absolutely not.
And I am very grateful that I'm not the same woman today I was at 20.
Well, I'm grateful about that about myself too, yeah.
So I think that one of our responsibilities as parents is to, and as people in a community with parents, is to help our children see their value, to help them understand that, okay, they might be, maybe a little girl said to me recently, I speak very limited Puerto Ricano, but I can get someone medical help or, okay. And this little girl is fairly new to the U.S.
Oh, okay.
and did not have English as a second language in Puerto Rico. So she was saying to me how hard it is in school. She must be 8 or 9, because the kids tease her about speaking Spanglish, which is a kind of Spanish, English, whatever. And I said to her, and so that makes you less? It makes you more. It makes you more because you're getting a grip on your English and you have a great grip on Puerto Rican and Spanish. It makes you more. But she had not had the opportunity to, her mother said to me, thank you so much. I said, we all have a responsibility to raise up these children because they're going to be our future. And when I'm an older lady than I am now, I'm going to need these kids to be tolerant and loving and forgiving and all of those kinds of things, and to accept differences. And I think if I were to summarize Lilydale, we are a place of accepting differences. Sometimes it may step us back a bit because we're human. But basically, we don't see the need for everybody to be cut from the same mold.
Oh, no.
Lilydale is not particularly interested in that. Now, moving on just a little bit here, you'll see when we're on 10 and 11, it talks about suggestions for healing and recommendations for a reading. I would say to you, if you're hoping for a reading in Lilydale, please don't come and just walk the streets. Call ahead. Make an appointment. In the very, as I say this, I should look and make sure. In the very back, on the next to the last page, there's a listing of the registered mediums.
Okay.
You can call ahead. They're very good about getting back to you. Obviously, if they're in the middle of a reading, they won't answer the phone.
Right.
But they're very good about getting back to you. These folks are all registered mediums, meaning they have undergone testing. They have undergone all of the things that we make them dance through, like so many Monday night. We have Monday Night Circle every Monday except one during the summer. And they have to work a certain number of Monday night circles and a certain number of outdoor services. And so we know the quality of these folks. And we always say, though, if you don't feel your reading was valid, then you need to tell the medium that.
You just come right out.
You need
say
to
that.
just spit it right out. Most mediums will not accept your money, your donation, if you feel because if it's not valid to you, then it's not valid. It doesn't belong to me or anybody else. So most of them are very good about that. Occasionally someone will come into the office and say, so-and-so, I didn't feel like they connected, and the office will say to them, did you speak with the medium? Did you speak with the medium about what you felt was less than adequate? And quite often they haven't. Suggestions for healing, again on page 11. There are healing services twice a day in our healing temple, except Sunday when there's one. We invite, this is a free thing. Usually it's packed. Barb Sanson does a wonderful job at having healers ready there to serve. It's beautiful. I've seen any number of people who have participated. I will often sit for healing, not for myself, but for situations in the world.
Oh, right.
I really have a pretty blessed life, Gail. I don't.
Oh, I know. I know we're really lucky when I hear things on the news that's going on in other parts of the world, the hideous
it's frightening
things. I realize I am really blessed to have the life that I do.
Well, and someone asked me once if it was true that the healers can't wear halters.
Halters? What?
They wear white tops and dark bottoms, whether they're pants or skirts. I don't think Barbara asks what's under them, but that's kind of the standard uniform. Because we ask our mediums, of course, for the outdoor services to dress appropriately.
By halters, do they mean the thing that's kind of a sun top?
Yes, yeah. These are folks who are doing a beautiful service. So while I don't think anybody certainly would be turned away as a participant, but as a healer or a clairvoyant, there have to be some standards.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like one thing that I've noticed about people that own funeral homes. When they go to somebody's home or hospital or nursing home or wherever the person died, they put on a suit. They put on it might be slightly different for a female one. I've never met a female undertaker, but but I know the ones that are men come to pick up the bodies wearing a suit, and they say that's to show respect for the person who has passed away.
Exactly. I had an experience with the UB anatomical gifting program. A friend of mine had left his body to the gifting program. And I had not experienced the folks who come to pick up the body. They were lovely, Gail. They were respectful and dignified, and they were everything you could have asked for coming into someone's home. So I think that's a piece of that. We ask our mediums and our healers to preserve a certain image. For many years, if you served the platform in Lilydale during the summer, you wore a long gown. Now, fortunately, those days are over. But I still, I'm not comfortable to serve the platform not wearing a dress because I'm old and because that's my belief system. But it's important that people, because we have a reputation as oddities, or as I like to call us, curiosities, it's important that people see us as everyday Joe and Joanne, as who we are. And that's exactly who we are. So that's an important thing. Also here it talks about accommodations.
Oh, yeah.
There is the Maplewood and the Leland, both of which are owned by Lilydale.
Okay.
There are a number of private guest houses.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in most of them, maybe not all of them, but certainly a great majority of them. They are nice, they are clean, they are well run. I've had friends stay in several of them. They're maintained much better than my house is, believe me. And we also have a campground.
Mm-hmm.
And we invite camping.
It says here no pets are allowed in either hotel
No.
or campground RV park.
Right, no pets, except that if you have a service animal, that's a different story.
Oh, okay, okay.
We've had several people in the hotel with emotional service animals.
Right, yeah.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem.
Yeah, that's something that I hear a lot about, at least with dogs anyway. So,
Although I haven't met any service cats yet. I have 2 cats, and believe me, they couldn't be trained to be service anything.
yeah, you know, they're, it's my understanding that they're actually too smart to let us get away with training them. I've lived with a lot of cats during my lifetime, and they have minds of their own. And in fact, I remember being at my mother's house one time, and somebody else who had a phobia of cats was with me at my mother's house, and my mother always had cats. And I remember the one cat walking in the person's direction, and she's going, "Get away from me! Don't come near me," or anything, you know, like that. And the thing was, the funny thing was the cat looked at her real funny, like, "What's wrong with what's wrong with her?" You know.
I love it.
I mean, that's how they are. Cats have big egos.
Yes, and they also have servants, and I am one.
You know, cats have really big egos. They totally believe they're special. So.
Well, and I remind my 2, because my 2 kitties are FIV positive kitties.
Oh, are they really?
And of course, so that means that they're indoor kitties.
So they never get to go outside. No.
But I remind them that I chose 2 FIV kitties knowing they were FIV. And that it would be nice to give me a little gratitude. And they both raise their lip in a cat smile and say, yeah, exactly. And say, good luck with that, Cara. Yeah. Anyway, back to what happens in Lilydale in the evening. People are always, because we have a full day of classes, which you'll find later in the book. There's a whole schedule of workshops, etc. But on page 12, it talks about the nights. Every Monday night, there's Monday Night Circle in the auditorium. You have to be 16 or older to attend Monday Night Circle.
Oh, okay.
And you sit in a mini reading kind of session, and it's really a lot of fun. The only exception is on Monday, August 12th. That is our annual meeting, and that day there is no circle. Tuesday nights, Adventures in Mediumship, 7:30 in the Octagon building.
Sounds like fun.
Wednesday nights.
Hatha yoga.
Wednesday mornings, Teresa. Do you know Teresa Schaefer?
Oh, no, I don't, actually.
She is, I should only have 1 quarter. Now, she's younger than I am, but she's not young. And she has if I only had 1/4 of her flexibility and serenity, she's fabulous. And she's a lovely teacher, too. She, Thought Exchange Wednesday evenings. You'll see my name after one of them. I love to do Thought Exchange. It is a time where people can ask anything they want to ask. We do our best, those of us who attend or chair, to not answer it, but to allow discussion to happen, and then to clear up if there are misconceptions. But it's an interesting program, and it's a freebie, too.
I know Ed Williams.
Oh, of course you do.
He used to come to some of our vegetarian society
I'm sure,
minutes.
yes.
Yes.
And they're all people who do a great job with it, and who have fun with it. I mean, thought exchange is very casual. You know, I'm very informal, as you know, and most of these folks are. We want discussion. Do you have to share my opinion? No, that's okay. That's good, actually. Now, Astrology Discovery is also held on Wednesday nights. Pat Bell puts this program of astrologers together, and they do lovely work. I have been to one a couple of years ago and kept saying, I'm going to get there on Wednesday nights, and somehow I fail to do that. It's tough when, it's like anywhere else, when you live there,
You don't get
you
around
miss
to going
out on
there,
half
yeah.
the things. Now, also on Wednesday nights, there's a ghost walk from 8:30 to 10:30, and it's not a ghost hunt. It's the awareness of spirit, and they have a great time with it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. My sister's husband is a Baptist minister. And it is so funny because he says he doesn't believe in ghosts. You know, well, you know, who does he think people's spirits are? You know.
Yes. Yeah.
He'll put us down for talking about an experience that we may have had for a ghost, and he's poo-pooing us and everything, you know. But
yeah. I said I believe that we live on. So
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Now on Thursday night, Marianne Steiner and Joanne Copley Negro have a development circle. Again, that's a fun experience because there's no pressure. Sometimes people, when they go to classes, you know, are like, what if I can't do it? Well, I don't believe in what if you can't. So this is a no pressure, fun experience to learn. We're all intuitive. It's just a matter of developing that intuitiveness. It's not some magical thing. It's a matter of learning. It's a learned skill. So Marianne and Joanne are going to work on that skill. Qigong, Tony Kozlowski.
I know Tony.
I bet you do.
Yes, I do.
And again, wonderful Qigong sensei.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
guy.
He's a wonderful person.
Yes, he is. And Friday night we have drumming on the beach.
Oh, yeah. I think probably you find Bill Kewick there a lot.
It's quite often. And George, George Cleese is the person who kind of facilitates it.
Oh, okay.
And George is a long-time djembe drummer, but doesn't. I have a bodhran rather than a djembe. I have an Irish Celtic round drum.
Okay.
And has never thrown me out of drumming or anybody else.
Oh, okay.
And some people, George usually has extra, like tambourines, and I have a shaky stick thing. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, but a maraca.
Maraca, yeah.
And I will usually bring that and let somebody use it, or often people have rain sticks and they'll use those. I love Friday night drumming on the beach because I always say it gives us a chance to communicate with the Undines, the Mer people who live in Cassadaga Lake.
Oh, okay.
Those are Undines.
Okay.
Now, there are also Friday night spiritual experiences at the Octagon building again. This is new for us, and it gives us a chance to work with others to see how psychic we all really are, to see how intuitive, and to experience that.
More than we realize.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Saturdays mornings, and I never get to this because I hardly understand 7:30 in the morning, but there's yoga for psyche and spiritual development with Joyce Kelly.
Yeah, that would be great. That's Saturday evening?
Morning.
Oh, morning.
7:30 to 8:30.
Oh.
And then Saturday evening, there's also thought exchange. Sunday, Nancy Lombardo does a sunrise yoga and meditation on the beach. Then we have no 2:30 service on Sundays because the churches alternate each Sunday in the auditorium. We don't meet in our separate facilities during the summer. We meet all together in the auditorium. And those are the speakers and the people who will be the clairvoyants or mediums. All message service every Sunday at 4 o'clock. One medium, and no one is guaranteed a reading, but they get a lot done in an hour. And then John White has evening home circle on Sunday night. So weekly, there's always something to do. Plus that, there are sweat lodges. My friend, do you know Grandmother Spider?
Oh, no, I've never met her, but somebody that I have recently gotten acquainted with talks about her a lot.
Well, Grandmother Spider, number one, sells products in my shop. But secondly, she does Grandmother's Healing Fire for those old women like me. I couldn't do a sweat lodge anymore. I would probably perish in the first 3 minutes. But she has Grandmother's Healing Fire, and then I collect the ashes afterwards and make a blessing oil. And you can see here it's August 3rd that's scheduled for this year. Neil has morning lodges, Teresa has a full moon lodge. There are just really nice things going on in that sweat lodge. And it does give some instructions in the book about, for example, attire for the sweat lodge. You don't come wearing your bikini.
Oh, attire.
Yeah.
For a minute there, I thought you meant the kind of tire off of a car. I'm going, attire?
No, attire.
What would they want a tire for?
We may float you out in the lake. And then next in our catalog come the services in the auditorium. It tells you who the chair is, who the speaker is, who the clairvoyant is. On page 16 and 17, Lilydale special events. Spiritualist Church Murder Mystery Day, July 12th. Children and Teens Week. Church of the Living Spirit Fun Fest. Fireman's Day. Pet Remembrance. Art and Craft Sale in the Artisan Guild. City of Light Spiritualist Church Day. August 10th is the Morris Pratt The Man and Institute. And August 17th is Mediums League Day. There are also Victorian-themed soiree of mediumship circles. We have a wedding venue.
Oh, do you?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And it's very easy to use it and to participate in it. And we offer ministerial guidance with it. You just have to contact us. The Women's Retreat weekend was fun. We had a great time. This weekend is pre-summer kickoff. Last night, I know on the beach, they had drumming and a beach party. My grass skirt was at the cleaners, so that was my excuse. Today, there's message work, healing services, yoga and meditation classes, Reiki classes, guided nature hike, and spoon bending. And I'm telling you, I happen to know that it's Connie Dutcher doing the guided nature hike.
Oh, okay.
The woman knows nature in Lilydale.
Okay.
Believe me.
Okay.
We have a fall fest coming up in September. And most of the shops stay open for these things as well. And Halloween and Lily Day.
Halloween, yes.
Yep.
Special spooky ghost walk.
Yep.
tour. Kids events.
We always try to include children's events because, again, if you want your children to grow up with an open mind, this is their opportunity to come and explore things. Last year at Winter Festival, we did a life-size Candyland program.
Oh, okay.
So then this tells you about Children's Week and Teens Week and all the things that are offered. And then we start with the classes. Those were pre-season. As you move on, if you happen to open to page 27, there I am.
Okay.
And actually, there's Colleen as well.
Yeah, Colleen is here on page 22.
Well, and she's also here on 27.
Okay.
Because she's doing Awakening 101, and I'm doing the Psychology of the Chakras, self and not selfish.
This one guy who teaches a workshop there, I was noticing his last name is Samoyedny.
What page are you on?
24. I mean, except for the last two letters.
Oh, Jake Samoyedny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of his name is like like a Samoyed Husky. So
Jake is Jake bills himself as the compassionate medium, and he is, again, a lovely, gentle man. I think his workshop, the study of colorology, of course, because I'm a fan of color therapy, I think his workshop will be fascinating.
Yeah, there was one little story I kind of wanted to bring up today, and that is some relatives of mine on my mother's side of the family up in the Buffalo area. It would be like a cousin of my mother's and his wife. Their daughter had two children, and the little girl, when she was like just real tiny, preschool age, started telling her parents and grandparents that she was a doctor that cut women's stomach open. And so they brought her to Barbara Sansone for a reading, because, I mean, she was way too young to understand anything about surgery or medical anything, you know. And so they brought her to Barbara Sansone, who did a reading for them and wound up telling them that she had been a doctor who performed cesarean sections.
When we are little kids, when we are little people, we are much more open and receptive to spirit. My grandfather started touching in when I was 3.5. And he was in spirit, and I never knew him on this plane. He was killed in an accident long before I was even thought of.
Oh, right.
And but we are receptive. But then, as we begin to tell it, we hear, "Stop making things up."
Oh, right.
Oh,
right.
You're such a storyteller. We hear, instead of, most children are very accurate. When they tell you they're speaking with Grandpa, they are.
Yeah, yeah.
When they tell you that they perform cesarean sections, cut women's stomachs open, I would imagine that she was some kind of midwife in a prior life. The other thing is, we don't necessarily stay the same sex.
I've heard that. I think Edgar Casey used to say that in his readings. I read all of the books about him years ago, you know.
Well, and Neil Zepkowski teaches about Edward Casey.
Does he?
Yeah. I was in, this lovely person named J. Lee Hall, who has since gone to spirit, did a past life portrait of me. And she had never met me, talked to me a little bit on the phone, because most of us who are clairvoyant, work through a voice vibration. And I get this in the mail, and she sends a note with it saying, "If you hate it, don't pay for it." It was clearly Gail, clearly me, clearly. And in my last past run, I was the madam of a bordello in San Francisco, and I burnt in the San Francisco fire. Now, I should tell you, I'm terrified of fire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I have certain phobias myself, and I have no idea.
Generally, they're connected to a past experience.
Yeah, one time, you know, when I was a little girl, way back in the 1950s, I always, when I was a kid, liked to dance. And when I was a little girl in the 1950s, I always wanted to learn belly dance, which I finally got to learn when I was 50 years old.
Cool.
But I was mentioning to Colleen Vander Zijden the last time she came on my program. We didn't talk about it on the program, but I said something about it to her, and she told me if I was attracted to it when I was that young, it means that I had a past life connection.
You experienced
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I often say that in 2 past lives, I was male religious, because there were times when women were powerless, and Lord knows, Gail, I'd have never been a powerless woman.
No, no. Well, we are have pretty much, we've come to the end of the episode. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes if there's anything else about Lilydale you wanted the viewing audience.
I want them to know the catalog is available both in the printed issue and online at lilydaleassembly.org.
Okay.
And please, we'd love to see you. When I chair, I often say, who's here for the first time? Welcome to Lilydale. To the rest of you, welcome back. So we'd love to see any and everybody at Lilydale this season.
Okay.
Thanks.
I hope I managed to get over there.
I hope you do too.
So, okay, I'll see the rest of you on the next episode in a couple of weeks.